welcome back to another episode of Reinforcement with Victor Williams. I am so excited to have the guest today. I met this young lady recently through a friend, Dr. Stephanie Jones, and her organization is Pets Help the Heart Heal. I forgot my glasses, so I can't read this beautiful write-up that I was going to just do this great introductory of you. So since I forgot my glasses, Dr. Jones, you mind telling us who you are, where you come from, and how did this whole thing start for you?
Well, I like to say that I am an Arkansan Aggie Gator vet. I am originally from a small town in Arkansas, born and raised. I have always wanted to be a veterinarian since I was like 10 years old. So that was my purpose and passion as a young kid. And I ended up going to Texas A&M and received my bachelor's in animal science. I applied to vet school there, but unfortunately I didn't get in, but fortunately I didn't get in. And so my sister at that time was like, well, why don't you try the University of Florida? They have a vet school, and she was interested in going to medical school. So we both applied, and at that particular time I did get in, but lo and behold, she went to Texas A&M and left me here.
Before you go on, is medical, like were your father, mother, anybody in your family or doctors?
Absolutely not.
So you guys the first?
Yes, they're all educators, which kind of plays a part in also some of how Pets Help the Heart Heal came to be, just being educators and teachers and mentors by heart. I think it's just in my DNA. And so I graduated from vet school, and my mom moved down to the Fort Lauderdale area, and she said, come down this way. I got my first job, and then that didn't go so well, but how many first jobs do? And so I ended up at my second place, and lo and behold, I've been there for 20 plus years. I am co-owner of the Animal Hospital of Fort Lauderdale in Fort Lauderdale, and I love it. I love surgery and reproductive medicine, and so that's kind of where I am and who I am.
Now, when I had my glasses on, I was able to read some of this in preparation. And I think it said that you guys are one of the first in the South Florida area to do stem cell?
Yes. So goodness, it's been quite some time since we started that, and that was even when it was just like a buzzword. It has become more known and more popular in veterinary medicine. We've all seen it in the human field. And so we do utilize stem cell and adipose or fat tissue, and we will take the stem cells out of that. And we're using it primarily at this time, or when that was written, it was more for arthritis and things of that nature in the joints. But it has become more advanced, innovative medicine, utilized more in skin cases and eye diseases and things of that nature. So it's steadily advancing.
So, everyone that watches this show know it's really about human trafficking, what we do. And you're like, why are we interviewing a vet, right? So Dr. Jones and I had an interesting conversation. She started an organization called Pets Help Heal the Heart. And it's a connection. And I think everybody can understand how dogs are with humans. They say dogs are man's best friend, right? And I honestly believe that. So can you tell me a little bit, like, how did you start this organization and what made it happen for you?
I always say it started with a smile. So in 2019, I, with my sorority, attended a Martin Luther King service project, and we were at a foster care organization. And so I was there just to volunteer. I don't have children, so this experience was a little bit new to me. And what happened was I ended up in an art therapy project session. And so the kids were instructed to write in pencil in the corner the challenges that they face and draw pictures of ways to overcome them. So I was seeing dejected, rejected, bullied, neglected, abandoned, grief, all of these words. And I was just like, dear Lord, I didn't even know that youth were even experiencing these types of trauma at the end of the day. Yes. And so then they were drawing pictures of how to overcome. And, we saw sunshine and rainbows and colors and things like that. And one girl over to my left, she was drawing and doing the assignment, but she just she just seemed very quiet. And so I was like, well, how can I engage with this group? They don't know me. And I was like, well, do you know what I do? And they looked at me like I was crazy because they're like, you just got here. Why would we know what you do?
Right.
And so I said, I'm a veterinarian. And that's when the pencil slowed down, the eyebrows raised a little bit. And then I said, well, do you know what a veterinarian does? And that's when the floodgates opened and the conversation started and the communication happened and the kids were talking to me about their pets, their past pets, the idea of even having a pet. Mm-hmm. And I found my open door. And so I looked to the girl to the left of me and I said, if I brought my dog, would you play with him? And that one phrase got me a smile. And that was the moment the spark was lit for me. And I knew that I had to come back and help continue this conversation that embarked against all the different things that they were doing. And the thought of a dog coming got a smile from this one girl. And so what I thought was going to be just a career day, which I always do, turned into a whole event, a major event. I invited all of the kids from the foster care organization to my hospital. We did a day in the life of veterinarians, but I remembered the expression on her face. I remembered the words that were written in tiny pencil in the corner. And I said, well, how do I tap into that? Mm-hmm. You know, yes, I can show them veterinary medicine and see what it is I do, but how can I help them to overcome these challenges? And then I thought about the human-animal bond.
Yes. And
so as we did, because now here comes the educator back in me and the DNA and the teaching and things like that, because I'm a mentor and a teacher by heart. I need them to learn something, but I also need to uplift them as well. And so we decided to have what are called puppy love sessions in between all of that. And that's how it became. And so then we're utilizing the benefits of the human-animal bond.
Now, being an educator, I'm almost certain that you went mad and started doing mad research to understand the technical issues of how, animals connect with humans. So what did you learn on your research?
Well, I saw it every day when my clients would come in, and I experienced it one time when I had a client come in and we needed to take an x-ray of his dog. And he was very nice to me, very pleasant. But when I took his dog away, it wasn't that he was rude. He just got very anxious, right? And so I was like, well, what is happening to this gentleman who was so nice? And now he's kind of getting a little bit off the cuff. Mm-hmm. And he said to me when he was like, I just need to be close to my dog. I just need to be close to my dog. I am a veteran. I battle PTSD. And this dog saved my life. So I need him to be close to me. Okay, so that was the first experience that I had truly engaging in the benefits of the human-animal bond. So just like you said, it's like, okay, what is going on that is allowing this person to calm down and not let his anxiety or his stress get to him? And so come to find out, the act of caring for someone or a pet, the art of touching. So as you pet an animal, so we could say dogs, but an animal, the touch actually releases what is called oxytocin. And so that is a nurturing hormone. So that helps to do that. Being engaged and not having to think about all the different things that you're encountering, that helps to decrease cortisol. And cortisol is considered a stress hormone. Right. When you think about when you're working out or when you're going to run, you're releasing dopamine. And we call that the runner's high and that euphoric experience. That also happens when you are around your pet. Mm-hmm. So all of these different chemicals are either being suppressed or released. And that kind of keeps you at ease, or it keeps you calm, or it will take your stress level from a 10 to maybe a 4, all just by being with pets. It has actually even been shown that in senior citizens facilities, they will put in fish tanks because fish are very calming and they can be therapeutic in and of itself. And so when you have seniors at the facility, they may just sit in front of the aquarium and just watch the fish. And that helps to alleviate some of the stresses and helps to trigger those hormones as well.
So when we were talking about this, and I was like, well, Doc, how would this apply to human trafficking victims? I can see, human trafficking victims also deal with PTSD, so I can see that connection. But is there a difference like with children and adults? I mean, trauma is trauma. How would this help, in this area that we work?
Well, you just said trauma is trauma. And so by interacting and engaging with the pet that makes them comfortable, because at the end of the day, you want any person to feel comfortable. So yes, it could be a dog, but is it a small dog? Is it a big dog? Is it a fluffy dog? Is it a hyper dog? Or is it a senior dog that's super quiet, right? So a person may just need, it's about providing a need.
Right.
What do you need? How can we help you? How can we make things a little bit easier for you in your time, in that time of stress, in that time of trauma? We won't be able to solve all of it, but maybe we can make things a little bit better. Maybe we can provide an opportunity to start to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And that's what pets can do.
Yeah, I know when we were talking about this, some of the ideas that I had, and, with law enforcement interacting with victims and understanding the victim-centered approach, and you bring them into a facility to interview them about the situation, we got away from bringing them down to the processing room and try to make that room really, comfortable. It's a couch, it's a nice chair, it's flowers, it's pictures. And I was thinking like, man, I can imagine that victim walking into a room and there's this dog, this cute little dog that they can like touch and feel and feel all those experiences that you just talked about before we got into this interview process. And some of the things that we talked about the other night in addressing this, you said like not all dogs would be fit for this type of program. What particular dogs best fit for this type of program?
Well, it depends, but I have a collie, so I'm going to brag on my collie. And we've been interacting with youth and young adults, and he just has an innate, keen sense of nurturing and to be where he is needed. And sometimes it might be, yes, I'm going to go and I'm going to nudge up on you. Sometimes it's going to be he just sits there and he may have 10 kids, engulfed and wrapped around him. And so tolerance is very key. So I'm not going to put a label on which breeds. Right. It's just a matter of knowing the temperament of the breed. Right. But we can't also, stereotype a breed, because I've seen bully breeds, which yes, they have a little bit of pit bull and yes, they have a little bit of bulldog. The most amazing, sensitive, intuitive pets. As a matter of fact, one of the clients, he spoke at my last event and he brought his dog. And so Newfoundlands, which are giant breed dogs and they're over 100 pounds, I've actually seen that where a 3-year-old, which came to my event, but she was terrified of going into the room. But by the end of the event, she's almost riding him. He's got slobber all over, and she's just smiling from ear to ear. So, but we do have to be mindful of the temperament. Golden Retrievers are also known to be very loving and nurturing as well. But you never know. You never know which pet might be appropriate.
Right. And I know you made it aware that, even if, we have good intentions, sometimes we have to be mindful that even that human trafficking victim could have had bad experiences with the dog.
Absolutely.
So you just can't assume that even that particular victim is going to be welcoming, to having that dog come in. Again, your organization, where are you going with this? What's your plans, and where you plan to see this go and grow to?
So right now we have a couple of programs in place. I'm a big advocate of literacy as well. So we do reading with pets. It kind of catapulted during the pandemic because I wanted to provide opportunities for youth when they were in their, home and couldn't go anywhere. So we did reading with pets across the nation. So youth were able to come onto Zoom and read their favorite story to pets in different areas, speak with veterinarians and things like that. Not only am I looking to advance in the understanding and the benefits of the human-animal bond, but So we already acknowledge that, and we find that youth, young adults, they need pets in their lives in order to be a functional part of society. Okay, well, how do we keep that going?
Yeah.
So careers in the animal industry. I love vet med, but not everybody is meant to be a veterinarian. So what else are my options? What else do we have out there where I can bring my pet or interact with pets or take care of pets, because I need to be able to take care of a pet that's in need.
Right.
You know, that rewards me, that gives me joy. So whatever a young adult, a youth, a person, a victim is experiencing, how can they continue to do the work that is easing their anxiety and their stress? So providing avenues and opportunities for careers in the animal industry, that's how I get to utilize something that I'm very passionate about as well. And I love that. And I love exposing youth in underserved and underrepresented communities, because they don't see a lot of veterinarians that actually look like me.
Yeah.
So to showcase that and say, you can do this too, all you have to do is dare to dream and dare to believe. And I'm going to provide you a shadow program where you can come and see that firsthand. Or I'm going to refer you to maybe a rescue organization, and you can go and work, you know, with animals and help take care of them that way. And in the midst of that, become employed. That's the ultimate goal, is showcasing that. And then moving forward, also providing a conduit. We want to be a conduit to pet therapy organizations. And so that if you're in need, maybe I can refer to a facility or a place where you can provide, they can provide that for you.
This might be a weird question off the beaten path, but like, you know, they're sensitive. They can have trauma themselves. Do you provide any kind of therapy? Like, do dogs have therapists that they can go to really regroup and become a calmer dog?
So there actually are veterinarian behaviorists. So I think in respect of that, and just helping clients have a better understanding, because anxiety is big in dogs now.
Right.
Very big. I think that unfortunately the pandemic exacerbated that a little bit. And so when owners were at home all the time and now they're back in the office or things of that nature, or even that innate bonding with their pets. And so then clients felt the need, or owners felt the need, to take their pets everywhere. It's a love-hate relationship, I think. I personally feel, because then you want to go somewhere, you want to take a trip, or you want to do something. And so, yes, they battle their own stressors. And at the end of the day, do I want to keep prescribing anti-anxiety medication? No. I would like to. And you either are going with a behaviorist or a dog trainer. Those are the kind of outlets and resources that are available for dogs. Absolutely.
So one of the things that we talked about, because I'm thinking big, and on my way here to do this interview, I did reach out to an office that has a task force and talk about, would they be open to a program such as this? And they were like, yes, they would be. Actually, 2 programs came to mind. One of them deals with kids specifically, and one could be kids and adults. And they were all over this. And we were saying, like, you know, where are we going to get these dogs from? How would we create this army? So if I'm, you know, right now there's a big buzz about human trafficking and people want to help. And if you got a dog, like, how would that work? If I had a dog and I'm like, man, I want to help. And I go, well, how would I introduce my dog to a program, the training process, the certification, to be part of, you know, a therapy process for victims of human trafficking?
So I think it would start with the general assessment. So that would be an actual conversation with your veterinarian, right? Is my dog in good health? I'm thinking of wanting my dog to be a pet therapy dog, Doc. What do you think? And so then based on this history, so if I have an old dog that is battling severe arthritis or something like that, no, I'm not gonna support that, because once again, people say, well, my dog will never bite. Well, that's not a true story. You know, all dogs bite. And if they're battling something, vision, if they're going blind, things of that nature, maybe that's not the particular place for your dog to be of help. So first have a conversation with your veterinarian, let them know the thoughts that you're having. Now, if you have a young dog or a puppy and things like that, being properly vaccinated and up to date, that's going to be, you have to have that,
Right?
because you don't want to give anything to anybody. And then you start with obedience training, whether you're, even if you're starting with a puppy, then that's like the socialization. We don't want them attached to you at the hip. We need them to be able to interact with other dogs and other people. So socialization. So if we're starting at a young age, then the puppy kindergarten classes, the socialization activities, then we're going to obedience training, just your basic sit, stay, come. All right. So those are going to be the initial process that's going on. Once you have that, then you'll get your first certification, which would be your AKC Good Citizen, because most pet therapy organizations require that as their first step.
Right.
And then after you do that, then you'll reach out to and do research in the areas that you're in to see what pet therapy organizations are there. Then you'll go on the website and do your own research. What are they about? Where are they going? Is that in line with what you're hoping to do?
Right.
And then you would go from there. And then there's an additional pet therapy certification that would then be required. And some organizations would even have, depending on what level, they're advanced levels. I was just sharing a little bit recently that one of my colleagues, because of being at one of our events, she wanted her dog to be a pet therapy dog, but she is taking it to a whole nother level. Her dog assists with, I think it's over in the neurology department. Oh, wow. So it's the rehabilitation of brain injury and how that's happening. And I don't even know all of it. I've seen her talk about it and things like that. But she started with just the pet therapy, starting at our event, and then just moving from there. And that's what happens, right? You're out and you're experiencing an event or an opportunity, and you're like, hey, I want to be a part of that. And how do I get started?
And what would be the cost if somebody wanted to do that? What would be the cost to them if they wanted to put their dog through this process?
So usually most of the organizations, it's the certification, and that's nominal in my opinion. And then, but the cost of the training may have the potential, depends on, is your dog easy to train or is he hard to train? So the cost of training, obedience training, that's going to be a little bit of an investment. I mean, trainings can be, you're sending them to boot camp to, and that could be a couple of $1,000s, or it could be, I'm just going to go to do the basic training, and that could be $150. So It just depends on the advanced level. And if you're going even higher, that may require more training. And then your volunteer applications for your pet therapy organizations, usually anywhere from $50, and that's for the year. And you might get a vest, your dog gets a vest or a t-shirt or things like that. So, because at the end of the day, we want the volunteers to come. We're not trying to make it cost prohibitive.
And, we're having this conversation yesterday about this. And do you work with organizations that do this, that you recommend?
I am. I'm on the board of Canine Assisted Therapy, and they are out of Fort Lauderdale. And ironically enough, I just got an email that the executive director wants to meet with me because the demand and the need is so real. And the number of volunteers needed, we're not even meeting that at that moment, right? And we don't want our volunteers to get burnt out.
Right.
We want the rotation to continue to go. And so whether it be a school where there's been a mass shooting and they're being called out, whether it's a hospital, that has some youth recovering or even adults recovering, whether it is a senior citizens home. That's where, and now the workplace is needing it. Yeah. Corporations are wanting it. Colleges during finals, we're reaping the benefits of the human-animal bond through that, because not only is it helping to decrease stress, but it's also helping, ironically enough, to help with retention of memory.
Right.
And so for studying purposes and things like that. So that's where I love the puppy love sessions, because you're just taking a mental health break. And playing with a puppy.
I love dogs, but you mentioned the memory help. I think I might need one now, because my memory is all over the place. But I do, also having this conversation, I know in the past that when a victim is sitting on a stand, we've used dogs for that. And I guess, could they be dual purpose? Like if I get a dog that is helping in this area, do they automatically fit in any area, or is it specific?
I guess you just have to see how the dog responds and how he reacts. And then also, it's about timelines and limits and things like that, because you're watching the behavior and the mannerisms of the dog in terms of, okay, have they hit threshold and we need a break or we need to change out. And so it just depends. And like I said, you really and truly don't know. My other recollection is the one dog that was at the event. The little girl was sitting down and it was running and running and running and running and running and running and all over the place. And then all of a sudden he just stopped and went and sat next to the little girl because she needed that.
Yeah.
And so it's amazing how keen sense that they have, and they know when you're hurting.
Do you think it's like an innate thing, like they're born with it for the most part, or do they really have to be trained in that area?
Oh, no. I don't necessarily think – I think they need to be trained in the sit, the stay, right?
That's what you're saying.
But I feel like the connection is there.
Yeah.
I've come home and super stressed and, ready to binge watch some crazy show, and your dog will come and just put his head on your lap, right? Or you're just – emotionally drained one step from tears, or maybe you are crying, and they'll come sit next to you. That's it. And half the time you want that. You don't want anybody to talk to you. You don't need any of that. You just want to be in your space petting your dog.
What is your dog name, by the way?
Max.
Max. That's a cool
Sir
name.
Barrington Maximus is his name.
Okay. A little bit, again, off the path. There's this thing about service dogs, right? Is there a legitimate license and paperwork you can get for service dog? Does that really exist, or are people just making it up because,
So there are different titles. So we have service dogs who they have a job, and they do have their own certification, but they are trained to do work. So they're the ones that are allowed in facilities no matter what. So you have your seeing eye dogs, you have your service dogs that will either help with diabetes or seizure recognitions.
Yeah.
So those are dogs that truly have that. Emotional support dogs are different. And you may even see in the news now it's a big controversy because truly there's not really a definitive certification for that. And so people, they'll come to me and be like, can you just sign this paper for me? And I'm like, well, what am I signing? And so that one's a little bit difficult. But then there's pet therapy. And so no pet therapy dogs are not allowed into facilities all the time. They are there just to help, right? To provide a need. But is it an official title per se? Not necessarily. Is it going to get you through the door or get you through the line? Absolutely not.
But not even a title. Are people just going online and getting these, whatever, this copy and having somebody
That
sign
would be
it?
the emotional support so that they can try to get to where they need to be.
Right. Well, listen, I think the audience here, and I know I learned a lot. And, when we met yesterday and started talking about this, it just bells and whistles started going off. I'm part of an organization that buy canine dogs for Miami Beach Police Department. And again, right now, there's this huge thing about human trafficking. And, I thought about how do we leverage the attention that human trafficking is getting right now with my organization, Quest to Freedom. And I'm the vice chair of the Miami-Dade Human Trafficking Coalition that, in our meeting yesterday, it's training. Trauma is the main thing that is really huge in all our lives. Unresolved trauma becomes vulnerability, and this is what traffickers seek to exploit. So, in wrapping this up, is there something else that you want to tell us about how important this program and your program? Can you, tell us some more? What else do you want to tell us about this that we didn't cover so far?
I think we pretty much covered it. I just want to reiterate that the power of the human-animal bond is real and it is effective.
Yeah.
And so how we cultivate that in our organizations, your organization, my organization, to help ease the stress and anxiety of the people that we're providing our services for.
Yeah.
And that's where pets, and once again, I say pets help the heart heal. Yes, I work primarily with dogs, but a person may need a cat. And we didn't even get into it, but equine assisted therapy is big.
Yeah.
Also with grief counseling and emotional support in that respect, and helping youth or adults on the autism spectrum. I mean, animals are a huge part and can be a huge part of our healing process. We just need to know how to utilize that.
Right.
And whether it be stress reduction activities or therapy sessions, providing that outlet and that resource can be a game changer.
What other animals, if you will, could be good for this type of, therapy?
So horses are big.
Yeah, you mentioned
that. And dogs are big. I mean, those are the ones that are pretty much, once again, easily trained per se. Cats can be they have their own lives, and they, one minute they're fine, next minute they're not. I know that at Canine Assisted Therapy, they were working on getting a rabbit certified.
Yeah.
I think they even had a potbelly pig, like the little small ones. So that's always fun and entertaining. When you're on a farm, I've been to facilities where they've utilized all farm animals. So they had a duck, and then they had goats. You use goats in yoga nowadays.
Oh, wow,
so,
yeah.
I mean, there's so many different, but it's all about their temperament. Are they trainable? And do they even, you'll know, do they want to be in that space as well?
If somebody wanted to contact you further on this, you got a site you want them to go to?
So you can find us on our website, and that's petshelptheheartheal.org. We are also on Instagram. Same thing. I know it's long. Pets Help the Heart Heal. We're on Facebook as well. Dr. Stephanie Jones, or Stephanie Jones DVM. I'm on LinkedIn. And also the Animal Hospital Fort Lauderdale. Reach out to us if you have youth that are interested in veterinary medicine. Please reach out to us. We love inviting youth into our hospital to shadow us, and especially if you have a young child that's interested in veterinary medicine, or what is it? What does a veterinarian do? We're here. We have an event coming up August 12th. It's called Life of Pets and Junior Vets. And that is an opportunity for youth to come to the hospital. We do a day in the life of a veterinarian, but most importantly, we have our puppy love sessions.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm glad to promote these things, for people to know. And I'll just say this last thing. People look at vets. You guys are real doctors. You had to go to the same medical school that the surgeon went through and everything. But when it got to that point of, okay, I'm going to work on people and vets, you just and you had to take other courses.
Absolutely.
To deal with that. And is that process longer than dealing with people, or?
So the veterinary process, it's after you graduate from undergrad, and then you have a lot of criteria to apply to vet school. You apply to vet school. If you get in, then that's 4 years of vet school. And then you sit for a national board.
Yeah.
After that, if you pass, then you can start general practice. So that would be like family doctor, right? And that's what I do. But if you want to specialize, because what people don't realize is that they're veterinary neurologist and oncologist and ophthalmologist and dentist. We have all of those different specialties.
Right.
That does take more training and more education. So those can be a little bit longer. But I'm general practice. I love it. But I also, even though I am general practice, I can do quite a few surgeries.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love surgery.
So wrapping up, Dr. Jones, I really want to this is like last second. Like, we were just talking yesterday, and it was like, we need to do something. And I'm so glad you came aboard. Talking to some of the people that I work in this space, everybody is for it. My head is blowing up and can't wait to make these connections. And again, thank you. And I like to end again with you giving us the contact information and your event that's coming on. So that's the last thing that are in our viewers' mind.
Once again, our website is petshelptheheartheal.org. Our Life of Pet and Junior Vets is August 12th. And it's from 9:30 to 12:30. And you can register for the event on our Instagram in the link in the bio. And you can also register for the event on our website.
And if anybody is thinking about doing this with their animals, could they reach out to you on that?
They can reach out to me, and they can also reach out to Canine Assisted Therapy.
Awesome. And also go to questofreedom.org or q2f.org for that additional connection. If you feel like your pet will fit the mold and you want to work in this space, everybody asks, how can I help? How can I help? This is a way that you can help. And it is very, you can't put a dollar sign on it, the pleasure and the calmness that it brings a victim of human trafficking.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Dr. Jones.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. And we'll see you next episode of Reinforcement with Victor Williams. Peace.